Hello and welcome back to 19.4 Surface Area of Spheres. We're going to begin on page 32. So here it says explain 1, finding the surface area of spheres. In order to find the surface area of a sphere, we're going to be multiplying 4 times pi radius squared. That's how we're going to find it. Now remember, pi, an approximation for pi is 3.14. Feel free to write that down as a note so that way you can have that in your packet. Alright, so here it says a basketball is a sphere of 29.5 inches in circumference. So let's highlight that in our packet. Whereas a baseball, which is a little smaller, is a sphere with a circumference of 9 inches. How much material would I need to make each ball? And does the ratio of these amounts compare to the ratios of the circumferences? So let's first find, just like it says for number 3, how much material is needed for the basketball. So first we got to do is find the radius using circumference formula. So remember, circumference was C equals 2 times, instead of using pi, I'm using the approximation, 3.14 r, because they don't give us our radius. They give us circumference, but they don't give us radius. So we're going to need to use a little bit of algebra to find out that other piece. So for the basketball, that was 29.5, so I'm going to plug that in there. Let's take a moment and let's multiply. What's 2 times 3.14? On pause, that would be about 6.28. I'm going to bring down the rest, the 29.5, equal sign, and r. Let's go ahead and figure out what's the opposite of multiplying by 6.28. Well, we're going to divide both sides by 6.28. Anything divided by itself is just 1, giant 1 if you will. And that means r is equal to, what would that be? If you divided that out, that would be about 4.69. So now that we know what our radius is, let's use the radius to find the surface area of our sphere. So it says surface area equals 4 times pi radius squared. So let's plug in that 4.69 for radius. And I'm going to keep it in terms of pi. I will show you how to kind of find the decimal value, but let's keep it in terms of pi by multiplying the number parts only. So take a moment and work that out right now. What would 4 times 4.69 squared be? That'd be about 87.98 pi. Since they do want us to kind of give a decimal value, what we're going to do is we're going to use the approximation for pi. And what would 87.98 times 3.14 be? I wonder. That would be about 276.27. So that's the surface area for our basketball, which I think kind of looks like this, if I'm not mistaken. It's got a bunch of lines. Not the greatest drawer, but that's my basketball. Now for a baseball, which is a little smaller, looks kind of like that. We're again, step 1, find the radius using circumference formula. So, how much material is needed to make a baseball? So we're going to use surface area, but we need to know what our radius is first. So again, I'm going to use the same equation. Circumference equals 2 times 3.14. So that's what I'm using instead of pi radius. Well, that was about 9 for the baseball. So let's go ahead and work that out. What's 2 times 3.14? That would be about 6.28. I'm going to bring down my r, my 9. What's the opposite of multiplying by 6.28? Dividing. So we're going to divide both sides by 6.28. Anything divided by itself is 1. And what is radius equal to? Hopefully you calculated that out. That'd be about 1.43. So let's go ahead and work out where it says use radius to find surface area of our sphere. So again, we're using the same equation, plugging in a different radius. Take a moment and work that out. That would be about 8.17 pi. If we multiplied that out, use the approximation for pi. So 8.17 times 3.14 instead of pi, what would that be? Unpause, that'd be about 25.65. All right, I know that was involved. They didn't give us the radius straight out. We had to kind of find it first. But this is a great review of what circumference looks like and a great practice as to how to find surface area. So let's continue on. They're asking to find the lateral area of our cylinder. Remember, lateral area of our cylinder looks like 2 times pi radius times height. So I kind of just took the cylinder out of our picture. Our cylinder is about how many inches tall and about how many inches for our radius? Well, remember, if our diameter is 8, we actually have to cut the diameter in half. So what's half of 8? 4. And our height would be about 5 inches. And our radius would be about 4. So let's go ahead and plug those in. And let's work this out. What would 2 times 4 times 5 be? About 40. So now you're like, okay, now what? So we're going to use an approximation. 40 times 3.14 would be about what? Unpause. Hopefully you got 125.6. Now you'll notice that we have a sphere, or a half a sphere, on both sides. We have a sphere on here and a sphere on there. So essentially it's just 2 halves make 1 whole. We have a whole sphere. Since there is half of a sphere on each side, let's find the surface area of the whole sphere, which is just what I said, but now it's on your screen. So it says use the radius to find surface area. So what is our radius? What is half of 8? Because the whole thing from end to end is 8, so what's half of 8? And hopefully you work that out. Half of 8 would be 4. So our radius is going to be 4. So let's go ahead and work this out, multiplying only the number parts only. 4 times 4 squared. Just so you know what squared means, because some students didn't know what that meant in class. 4 times 4 squared just means 4 times 4 times 4. If it was 4 times 5 squared, that would be 4 times 5 times 5. So that's just an example, so you know what that squared means. All right, so hopefully that was enough time for you to figure out what that would be. What is 4 times 4 times 4? 64 pi. We can leave it like this, it's totally fine, or we can do an approximation for that as well. 64 times 3.14 and work that out. So take a moment, pause, and do that now. It's important to know how to put both answers. That would be about 200.96. So this is correct in terms of pi, and this is also correct in terms of just the decimal value. All right, let's go on to the next one. So now that we've found the surface area of our sphere and our cylinder, what we're going to do is we're going to add those two together. Again, you could do it in terms of pi. 40 pi plus 64 pi would be 104 pi, or you can use the decimal values we just found and add those two together. Either one is fine, but go ahead and pause and do that now. Unpause, that would be about 326.56. All right, and we're here to checkpoint. So finding the surface area of a composite figure. First, we're going to find the surface area of our rectangular prism. So I drew the picture of that prism, or that box there. So let's find the base perimeter and the area of the base. So the base perimeter would be essentially all those numbers added up together, which would be, and feel free to go ahead and calculate also your area of your base. So feel free to calculate your base perimeter, base area, and then of course identifying your height. Hopefully you did that. The height would be 4. If I add up 10 plus 10 plus 7 and 7, it's 34. And if I multiply 7 times 10, that would be 70. Take a moment and work this out. And unpause. Hopefully you got the following numbers. You added those together and received that. So you found the surface area of the box. Good job. Now we have to find the surface area of our half sphere. So here's for a whole sphere, just so you know. So they tell us our radius is 3. We're going to work this out. It's 4 times 3 times 3. 36. Now, let's multiply the number parts only, which we just did. Yes, thank you. Since it's only half, let's only use half. So essentially, what's 36 pi divided by 2? Essentially, what's 36 divided by 2? That'd be 18. All right, let's use an approximation for that. So calculate 18 times 3.14. We'd get that. So now, you have both your surface areas. Let's add them up. And you'll see that they add up to about 332.52. Now, because there's a surface area that's not open, in fact, it's where they touch, the circle part is where they touch at. We're going to find the surface area of that part, that circle that they touch at, the hemisphere and the box. So let's find that out. What would this be? Be about 9 pi, and of course an approximation for that would be 28.26. So let's take our surface area total and our overlap shape. Let's work this out. Pause and do so now. And unpause. Hopefully you got the following and you're done with the checkpoint. Now if you do need help with any of the homework questions that are flashing before your eyes, please come into the center. We have people here who are more than willing to help you find each and every one of these surface areas. All right. Like I said, if you have any questions, please come into the center. Otherwise, that is it for 19.4, the last lesson of geometry. Credit 4, you made it.